Today is Wednesday. It's the 20th of May, 2015. Thank you for being with us, and I hope you're doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
I'm doing well. Well, here we are.
Who are you?
Oh! Hello, I'm Wayne Alley.
And I'm Kim Beth. Good morning.
I forgot that part, didn't I? I knew I was leaving something out.
Good morning.
Hello to you, Kim. Hope you're doing well.
I am.
Good.
I am doing great.
Very good. Here's a reminder for you. Now, you know, each year the Veterans Coalition and other veterans organizations have and the Purple Heart Foundation all get together and they have the Purple Heart Banquet here in Goldsboro.
And it is well attended and as it should be.
As it certainly should be. And I think almost every year it's sold out or completely full. I just want to mention to those who are involved with the Purple Heart Banquet and Purple Heart Foundation is that they have a series of meetings that lead up to the banquet each year. Well, the next meeting will be on June 3rd at the Veterans Services Office on East Ash Street in Goldsboro. So that is June 3rd. I don't know what day. That's a Wednesday.
Is it?
It's a Wednesday. Yeah, I just remembered.
All right.
From my calendarial brain here.
Yes, yes. Boy, your brain works really well.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I can count up to 31.
That's excellent. Excellent. Well, today is Farmers Market Day.
Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday.
All day long.
Woo,
this morning it opens at 8 and it'll go till 6 this evening. This is at Herman Park. In the parking lot, you'll see tents set up. My goodness, last week I think they had about 15 or 20 tents set up with lots of individual farmers and vendors.
Yeah.
They are going to have fresh eggs, vegetables, handmade soaps, pork skins, fruit, plants, flowers, handmade jewelry.
Wow.
The list goes on and on.
This is exciting.
Yes, it is. Shop local, eat fresh.
You can't beat it.
That's
you
right.
can't beat local veggies and fruits. Shop local, eat fresh. That's exactly right. I strongly support and encourage you to support our farmers. And these are local farmers earning a living.
That's right.
This is what they're doing, so you should be supporting them. Why go buy fruit and veggies that are made in other countries?
That's right.
And that's happening. That happens.
Yeah,
when
let's
you can
support
buy
our
it
local
local.
farmers.
Yeah, and it is fresher and better tasting.
Well, you know, last year, so I've stopped there quite often, and last year I remember meeting the sweetest lady. She sold me a bunch of zucchini and yellow squash and various things.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about recipes, and she said, do you like to try lots of different ways to cook your zucchini? And I said, absolutely, have you got a suggestion? She gave me, it was called a zucchini boat. You take your zucchini and just cut it in half the long way.
Yeah.
You sprinkle or drizzle a little bit of olive oil,
That's good.
salt and pepper,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and you bake them. They are fabulous.
Really?
They are so yummy, yes. Yeah, I'm not positive, but I think I only baked them like 15 minutes.
Really?
On 350. Well, I still like mine crunchy.
Yeah.
I don't like it really soft. So that's just a little tidbit, and that's just easy. Everybody's got that sitting around.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Parmesan cheese, just depends.
Yeah.
But you could use multiple cheeses, but she said, you know, Parmesan cheese is what she used, and it was so good.
How about
She
that?
told me lots of recipes for cauliflower, a fruit and veggie that nobody really pays that much attention to.
Well, I love cauliflower.
I do too.
Yeah.
She told me lots of ways to cook that
Really?
too. Yeah. So I'm getting recipes and fresh food.
Wow.
How about that?
There you go.
Can't beat it.
Wednesdays.
All day today, 8 to 6.
And if you can't go today.
Fridays. This year they're open on Fridays as well.
Oh, boy.
Wednesday and Friday,
Wednesday
Herman Park.
and
You'll see all the
Friday
big,
at Herman
colorful
Park.
tents.
All right. That's good. Today at
Yes.
the Senior Center on East Ash Street in Goldsboro, the
What do you
20th
got?
of the month, the Parkstown presentation I mentioned to you earlier this week, that begins at 10:30 this morning. The arthritis exercise at 9:30, devotional study at 10:30, tutors for computers. Little rhyming lingo there.
Yes.
All right, tutors for computers in the computer lab, that begins at 10 o'clock, goes till 11:30, and then they're going to have the ceramics class has been canceled, but they're going to have the jewelry group meeting at 12:30 today.
Right.
All right? All right.
Don't forget, Cruise the Noose is right around the corner.
Noose
Right around
the
the
cruise.
corner. Cruise the Noose on May
Cruise the Noose.
30th. You can canoe and kayak down the Noose River. $15 is the charge. That includes a t-shirt. You'll have a boat, you'll have lunch, and you'll have a guided tour going down the Noose River, and it's so much fun. I've only done it once, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a view that most of us do not see. When you may drive down past the Noose,
sure.
but actually being on the water in a boat, it's so serene.
Oh boy.
It really is, and we are taking advantage of this wonderful opportunity that we have right here is our river. And we just don't get to take that opportunity very often.
You know, that's so true. And we have our unique
in our
river
backyard.
here. It is. It's right here in Wayne County. And you get a
Right.
chance to ride down that, or float, or cruise down that noose.
Or paddle.
Or even paddle.
Yes.
You don't pedal.
No pedaling
No
going
pedals,
on that I'm
just
aware
paddle.
of.
All right, anyway. Anyway,
Yep.
that's good. We'll talk about that more, okay?
All right.
Back in the studio today with Brantley Partin. Brantley, hey man.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, hope you are.
I am.
All right, the museum is a place that you're collecting a lot of the things coming out of the streetscape, out of the streets of old Goldsboro.
Streetscape project, yep. And most people have probably seen it's Center Street's being torn up.
Right.
They are digging that up, replacing the water lines, and we have made a deal. Well, I should say Kurt Keller, our board president, who I
Right.
know you have on once in a while.
Yeah. Kurt's a good friend.
He is. He made a deal with the city. They dump the dirt out at a special location, and volunteers then go through and they're sifting through the dirt.
Right.
Not quite an archaeological dig, but they're digging through to find everything that was buried under the street. Because when it was paved in the late 20s, it essentially locked in decades, going back to the 1840s, everything underneath the dirt. And they were dirty people back then. They threw stuff all in the street. So
they were dirty people.
they were. We
But
take
now,
for granted today
You said that the streets here were paved in the late 20s?
late 20s, I want to say 27 or 28, not long after they tore up the railroad tracks.
Okay.
They used to have the derailibration.
Right.
That was actually, the city actually illegally tore up the tracks. They went to court over it and they paid a fine and got off pretty
light, didn't they?
Pretty light.
And they did it in the dead of night.
That's the story that the city council told the city manager, whose name was Claude Grantham, I believe. Essentially, they said, get it done, and didn't say much more than that. And
Just get it done.
He got the water superintendent to go out one night and supposedly had bottles of liquor. Got a bunch of workmen, didn't tell them what they were there for until they got there, and they ripped up the tracks, and they took it down where the circle is today. Past that on Ash Street, there used to be a lot of railroad yards there, and supposedly they stacked it up neatly. All the pieces of timber and rail line.
The ties and the steel
and the railroad was absolutely furious.
I bet they were.
And
But now, what was the reason given for removing those tracks?
well, the city was founded because of the railroad.
Right.
Without it, there would, Mount Olive might be the biggest town. It could be any town, but it was the railroad. This was the center point right at the corner of Center and Walnut Street for a new railroad. It was right between Weldon and Wilmington.
Supposedly the highest point between those two.
So highest point, the midpoint, I've heard a
Midpoint,
few
yeah.
different, but it was the engineer whose name was Matthew Goldsboro.
Matthew T.
He
Goldsboro.
chose that spot, and so they started building up around there.
Right. Once the railroad was there, then they started building a hotel to
They
accommodate.
started building hotels, and it was a slow process, and in 1848 they chose to move the city, or the county seat from Waynesboro over to Goldsboro, and that's when Waynesboro essentially started to become a ghost town.
Yeah.
But the railroad was the reason for the city being here, but you got to remember everybody lived within a few blocks of Center and all the businesses, and those trains were massive. You can actually see it behind me. There's a picture on our Facebook
Oh yeah,
page.
right there.
That was a huge coal engine about 1900, and it's 2 stories tall, 24 hours a day, running up and down.
2 stories tall.
With the smokestack, yeah, it was a massive
Good grief.
beast, and all the coal, the filth, the noise, the heat, and so people of Goldsboro were
We were dirty.
we were dirty, and even though the train was the reason we existed,
Yeah.
they still were not happy about it, and they had been petitioning the state and the railroad companies to do something about it, and they weren't going to budge, so eventually they just decided to take matters in their own hands. If it happened today, it'd go to the Supreme Court.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it would have been a huge thing. Back then, I think the city paid $5,000, which was a lot of money back then, but
Back
that was
then.
nothing to get the train tracks removed. And once that was done, that's when they went in and paved it, and it locked in. Because the streets were dirt, and every so often they just pile up a big pile on one end and go in and
Cover it up.
just cover and keep. So you had
Layering.
layers
Yeah.
and layers and layers of stuff.
All right, so that's why Kirk insisted on going through this dirt that is dug up there on Center Street.
Yep.
And he has found a few things, hasn't he?
Oh, thousands.
Thousands of pieces.
And the project's not even, I think it's December at least.
Yeah.
It's going to keep going on. So yeah, it's literally thousands of objects.
So he's found everything from inkwells and shoe soles.
Inkwells, complete bricks that have got the manufacturer still stamped
Really?
in it. Coins, Civil War artifacts, which is a
Buckles?
big one. Buckles, bullets. Parts of he just found recently part of a powder horn.
Really?
Where the guy had an eagle stamped in it, and it would have been what you poured your the black powder into the gun to fire.
Right.
So and you got to back in the 1860s, there were Union and Confederate troops, thousands of them, and most of them were congregated
Around
right
Center
in that
Street.
area, and
Yeah.
so they were dropping stuff
Oh man.
left and right. And then the train, you got to, when stuff came into town, if you were a business owner, you might walk out your front door and 20 feet away is a rail car, and you literally pick up your merchandise straight off the rail cart. So there's stuff moving around constantly, so there's always, I shouldn't say junk, but just stuff all all in the street.
Yeah.
It was a much dirtier time. We've got it good today.
At the same time, we had the Neuse River, and people bathed in the Neuse a lot, so we weren't all that dirty.
They did, although I don't know about
well,
bathing in the
well,
Neuse.
not now, but back then. Well, and it was higher. We actually had river boats at some point, didn't we?
The boats came up, and that's another reason. Waynesboro was, if I understand it correctly, the farthest you could get a ship of anything above a canoe up the Neuse River from Newbern. Waynesboro was the further, and supposedly in 1839 there was a steamship that made its way up to Waynesboro, and they had a big celebration, and that was the same year that the Wilmington and Weldon Railroad was done. So the same year.
Didn't need the steamship
No,
anymore.
Waynesboro fought. Kinston actually fought against the railroad. Newbern fought against it because they depended on the water. And they built a little spur line from downtown here down to Waynesboro, but it was almost just something I think to shut people up that were complaining to the state about it, and nothing ever became of it. Waynesboro was emptied out.
I'll tell you what, this is fascinating. This is fascinating. This guy, Brantley Partin, is our museum director here, and he and Chris you do a great job.
Well, thank you.
You really do. And I love these stories.
And I got to thank Kurt Keller. He's the one that pretty much it was him alone. He had people working with him, but he's the one that did all the legwork to make the deals to get this to happen. And if it hadn't been for that, they would have dumped that dirt, and it would have been
Lost.
gone
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
And so not everything is a gold coin or something magnificent, but all of it tells a story of the history of the town.
Now that's true. In fact, each piece that you find that is found in this dirt has its own story behind it. If we only knew.
And that's some of the stuff we'll never know the story,
That's right.
but at least we have the object. And down the road, people come in, they see something, maybe they know something about what something might be or where it came from, or because just because we pull it out of the dirt doesn't mean we know exactly what it is.
That's exactly right. Now you brought some things with you today.
I brought a few things.
All right, what do we got?
4 things. One of them is a coin. Probably a little hard to see, but it's from 1887, and
that's
yeah,
it right there.
Right there, yep.
That's
And
the round thing right there.
Yep, and
it's a coin.
It's a coin. It's called a seated Liberty dime, and that was Lady Liberty sitting down. It was a really original name they gave it, but that was the dime before the dime we have today.
Really?
And they found quite a few of these, and they found probably a dozen different types of coins.
Is that right?
Some going back to the 18th century, a couple of them.
Really?
Yeah, now not all of them look
Look that good. Oh, I'm sure.
look that good. And that's another thing, cleaning this stuff, it's not, you can't just run it under the faucet, spray a little 409.
Yeah.
And so you know, Kirk's been great about doing it the right way. And so it's, you know, this one, luckily, it just cleaned up really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful.
But yeah, it's in great shape. It's got a little bend in it, but other than that, you can read everything on it. It's a great piece. And like I said, we found money. Coins everywhere. Lots of coins that are as big as $50 down to small coins.
Well, this one's pretty small.
Yep, that one's pretty small. It's a little bit bigger than a modern dime, but yeah, it's a pretty small coin. It's much thinner.
Yeah. Wow.
Than most money today.
Surprising that it lasted what, 130, 40 years?
Yeah, 1887, so it's been probably 100 years.
Yeah, 130 years.
I mean, imagine that being buried under the ground for 100 or so. It's amazing the stuff, the amount of stuff there is that survived that long.
Yeah. All right, what is this thing right here? What are we looking at?
That actually was found down by the train station. You know, they're redoing Goldsboro Union Station down at the end of Walnut Street, and that is a stamp moistener.
A stamp moistener.
Yep, and that's, you got to remember, the train station, there was no phone, no email, no text, so mail was extremely important. So you say you're coming from Greensboro, you're on business, you get to Goldsboro, how are you going to tell your wife you've made it?
Oh,
you know, you send a letter, and you do it at the train station. You write out a letter, they've got stamps, and there'd be a guy there, you know, like a postal guy. Take the stamp. There would have been a roller that would have fit inside it and a little bit of water, and you take the stamp and just spin the wheel, and it moistens it. And then you
they didn't
slap
have
it.
the adhesive on the back of the, I mean the pre.
It was a type of glue, but it was not something that you know.
You had to lick it.
Yeah, you had to, and if you imagine you're the guy that has to do it, and today it's non-toxic. Back then there was no guarantee that it was. So that was a really important tool, and mail was a huge thing at the train station. Like I said, people sending letters back and forth.
And it traveled by train.
And traveling by train, and also the train carried the mail.
Exactly.
You know, there were no interstates, no semis, no airplanes, so mail was a huge part of the train station.
All right, now what about this? This is interesting.
That actually was found also down by the train station. It was a construction worker. There was a pile of dirt on Walnut, and out of the corner of his eye, he saw something gleaming.
Yeah.
And they pulled this out, and it's a glass figurine. It looks like it's a young boy, and the way it's made, it looks like it would have sat on a ledge. So maybe something that people collected. It's another one of those objects we don't know the story, but it's a really great piece. And who knows, one day we might find an old catalog and look through it and find this.
And that's how you have to identify some of these, isn't it? Looking through antique catalogs?
Yeah, looking through old catalogs. And yet the final piece.
No,
that's what happens.
What?
No.
I shouldn't have picked it up.
No, you done nothing to it. It's
All
fine.
Right. Now, does that mean I have to buy this?
You owe me 1 penny.
Okay.
The reason it's falling apart like that, it's an oyster shell.
Oh, is it really?
And we found hundreds.
Now, why is there an oyster shell out there?
Oysters, you know, nowadays, if you go down to the beach, local oysters are not easy to come by. But 100 years ago, oysters were everywhere down on the coast. And the Beaufort and Morehead City area.
You mean naturally?
Out in the, lots of guys, that was their job. You know, they would bring in the oysters every day. They'd put them on the train from Beaufort and Morehead, and also from Wilmington, and they would send them up the line. And it was almost like the bar food of the late 19th century. Really? Oysters were huge. Restaurants served it as well, but lots of the bars would advertise. There's an old advertisement from the Mozart Saloon on Center Street. That in big letters says oysters. I think it was 5 cents. So you'd go into the bar, you'd get a beer, and then you'd eat oysters. It was just sort of, like chicken wings today or something like
peanuts
that.
Or
they didn't have to cook it. They didn't have to do anything other than maybe give you a shucking knife, and that was it. And a lot of times, You know, it's summer, the windows are up, there's no air conditioning, you toss it back and you just throw it out in the
window.
street.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So we found tons of them, and you know, they'd come up by rail. You know, the bar owner would walk outside, go to the train car, pick up a crate of oysters, and they were coming in daily.
Wow.
And that's a big reason why you can't get oysters, or at least not nearly as many today.
Really?
100 years ago, we pretty much ate them all. 100 years ago, I mean, I'm seriously, it was every day. There were train loads coming in with oysters, and they'd go the entire length of the line. And oysters went as far as places like the Dakota Territory, Texas, Nebraska. I mean, these are the interior parts of the country. When the rail line got to those places, oysters were, you know, put some ice in there.
Yeah,
and,
pack them in ice.
And that was a bit, I know in like Deadwood, South Dakota, there's a famous picture of that town. In 1876, there's a banner hanging over top of the town, right down Main Street, and it said oysters, 5 cents.
Really? Of course, Deadwood's known for many things, including
Wild Bill
number 10,
Hickok and
yeah.
Saloon Number 10, and that was at the saloons. And so I don't know for sure, but I would bet that probably some North Carolina oysters made their way all the way out there.
Yeah.
And they were easy to transport. They were in their own storage. You know, they had a shell, so they were easy to store and transport.
I'd almost be willing to bet that Wild Bill Hickok went to the Number 10 saloon only to get those oysters.
North Carolina
North
oysters.
Carolina
and
oysters,
it's certainly,
yeah.
it's certainly
I bet
possible.
he did. Of course, you know, that's what done him in.
It didn't work out so well.
Didn't work
for
out
him.
so well for Wild Bill Hickok. My goodness, man.
But
That's
yeah,
exciting.
Then like you mentioned, inkwells, coins, railroad spikes, bricks, a lot of objects we don't know. Some metal objects, they look like they would have been something for the railroad. I mean, like I said, we don't know exactly, but that'll be down the road.
Pins to connect things,
Connecting
and hold
things,
together,
dowel
cotter pins and
rods.
that sort of thing.
Yep, shoe soles. And then also one find, and I don't know if Kirk's got this up on the Facebook page yet, but a shoe, a Union soldier's
Yeah, I
shoe.
saw that. I saw that.
And it's a leather shoe. I don't think there's any metal in it. The pegs in it that held it together were wood, and the shoe made it all this time. That one's kind of a beast because trying to preserve it, if it dries out, it could be bad. So we're trying to figure out how to preserve it so we can put it up on display.
Oh,
but I
wow.
mean, that's, you know, imagine
amazing.
one of Sherman's troops marching through.
That is amazing. All right. Brantley Partin, the director of our Wayne County Museum at, what is it, 116 North William?
116 North William Street.
All right. 116 North William. Let me put the phone number up there, okay? What's that? That's 734-5023,
That's right. And then our website is waynemuseum.org.
Right there.
And you
You
can
see it
go
right
to our
there.
Facebook page from there, and also the Goldsboro, the Artifact Recovery website. You can get to the Facebook page for that from our website. So please check it out, and if people want to volunteer for that, go to the Facebook page.
All right. Volunteer for working and
Yep.
finding these artifacts.
No experience needed. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need a degree in anything. You just need 2 hands and the ability to...
Well, you know what, man? I've been digging in dirt since I was 2 years old.
I was about to say,
That works.
If you can dig in the dirt, you can do this. And we encourage, kids, bring the family
Any
out
age.
one Saturday
Yeah.
afternoon or Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this, the actual dig takes place out at on Highway 70.
Out on Highway 70 West,
at
yep.
McDonald's.
Near the McDonald's, yep. So we encourage people on Saturday mornings, come by. If the weather's good, there'll be people out there.
That's right. And spend a little time out there and just have a good old time finding artifacts.
Yep.
Finding stories. Stories that made Wayne County and the city of Goldsboro. The history is it's fascinating.
Yep, it's
just
all there.
fantastic. All right, Brantley, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Yep, I'll be
All
back
right.
with some more stuff.
Great, thank you. We're back on Wayne Goldsboro Television. Thank you for being with us. Today is Wednesday, the 20th of the month, and let's look over a couple of birthdays here very quickly.
Can you believe it's the 20th? I mean,
I
May's
cannot
going to be
believe-
over just like that.
2/3 already gone.
I know.
Can't believe
Summertime is around the corner.
it. It is, isn't it?
It's around the corner.
It's around the corner. David Hedison is a name that you may not know, you may know, but he's been around as an actor quite a number of years. He's 88 today. He was on the Colbys. years ago.
Colbys.
He played Lord Langdon.
Okay.
That's a soap opera. He was also Arthur Hendricks back in '04 on The Young and the Restless.
Okay.
But he's done tremendous amounts of other things, movies, lots of television. David Hedison's 88 today. Constance Towers is 82. She was on Sunset Beach as Juliana. She was Helena Cassadine on General Hospital some years ago. Anthony Zerbe, one of my favorite actors.
Don't know him.
Well, you'd know him if you saw him or if you even heard him talk. He has an
Okay.
extremely unique voice.
Recognizable voice.
Very recognizable. He's 79 today. Oftentimes would play the bad guy.
Okay.
Many times played the bad guy, but he also plays the good guy. He's very talented. He can do anything. He's 79 today. Bronson Pinchot.
Tell me.
Oh, okay. He was on Perfect Strangers.
Okay.
He played Balky. He was Balky on Perfect Strangers.
All right.
Okay, you may not remember that
do
show
not.
though.
But
Okay,
that's okay.
all right,
Many
but that was a
people
very
do.
funny show, and he was so funny. But he was also on The Young and the Restless. He played
Was
a fashion designer for a short while.
Okay.
Very odd. He was so odd. But anyway, he played the characters on name for a short while was Patrick Dalton. That was back in '08.
Okay.
Very funny guy. He's 56. 55 today for John Billingsley. He was on Star Trek Enterprise as Dr. Phlox, Mike Spencer on True Bloods, and Egan Foote on The Nine. Tony Goldwyn, you remember the movie Ghost?
Yes.
He was the bad guy.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was a good movie.
Oh, wasn't that
Oh,
good?
it was
And
great.
he is good. He is so good. I love bad guys. They just it takes a special person to
Yes,
really
it does.
portray a bad guy.
Yep.
All right, bad guy. Tony Goldwyn, he was Carl in The Ghost. He was also President Grant in the TV show Scandal.
Really? He was who in Scandal?
President Grant?
Really? That's
Well-
his name. I watch that show all the time.
Well, he's a president.
He is the president. That's the main character. Well, one of the main
Is
characters.
it?
Yeah.
Well, see, I've never seen it.
Oh, you should so see it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's so
Really?
good.
Okay, I'll have to watch it then. Okay, anyway, he's Grant, President Grant. He's Tony Goldwyn.
I
He
know
was the
exactly
bad guy.
who he is. I didn't know
Okay.
that was his name.
That's his name, Tony Goldwyn. Mindy Kahn,
Tell me. I don't know these
you,
names.
you know who she is.
Okay.
She was Natalie on Facts of Life.
Yes, I do. I watched
All
that
right.
show growing up.
49 today. She's also one of the many voices that have portrayed Velma in Scooby-Doo.
Okay. She was
TV
who on
and-
Facts of Life?
Natalie.
Okay.
Dark hair, round face.
Okay. We're the same age. That's why I was just wondering.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I grew up with her.
Okay.
Interesting.
Timothy Oliphant was Seth Bullock on Deadwood. He was Raylan Gibbons on Justified. He's 47. Angela Gertels is in Phenom, 24, and Do Over. And some other people having birthdays today, and there you go.
Well, happy birthday.
Woo! All right.
All right. Reminding everyone about next week's Center Street Jam.
Yes.
It is Jim Quick and the Coastline Band,
Oh,
May
boy.
28th, next Thursday. Remember, this is Military Appreciation Center
That's
Street
right,
Jam.
yeah.
There'll be lots of red, white, and blue going on out there. Lots of support for our local Seymour Johnson Air Force Base.
Love
Plan
it.
to join us. 6
Very-
to 9 doesn't cost a thing.
Doesn't cost anything to go in.
Does not.
And there's food and beverage and
That's
whatever.
right. That's right.
And it's a
There's
family event.
It is, and this year they've got a lot of things happening for children. They've got
Yeah.
face painters out there.
Oh,
They've
wow.
got the jumpy inflatable things
The
going
jumpy
on.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have lots going on. It is a family
All
event.
right. I want to say very quickly
Yes.
that there's a lot of bad press going around the country
Yes.
about law enforcement. And I want to say that is a bunch of baloney. We shouldn't be standing for this.
Right. One bad egg does not make a bad group.
I am telling you, we need to support our local law enforcement. We need to support law enforcement, period.
Just like Council Member Michael Hedden said recently, when you're in trouble, who are you going to call? And it is not Ghostbusters.
No.
It is your local police officers
Yeah.
that you're going to call when you're in trouble. They have a hard job. They have a job
Tough.
that many and most of us do not want
That's
and
right.
would not be able to do. So we do need to support our local police officers.
That is
And law
that thin,
enforcement.
that's right, that's that thin blue line that protects you from the bad
That's
guys.
right.
Protects
exactly right.
you from the bad guys. So we appreciate our law enforcement folks here in Wayne County
we
and
do.
across the nation.
The mayor just said that at City Council last week.
Really?
He
Okay,
goes on and
so-
on about you and Mayor King are thinking alike.
Well, he's my buddy.
I know he is. He's mine too.
Al the King.
That's exactly right.
All right, we got to go.
Yep, that's all for
Let's
today.
do this again tomorrow, shall we? All right, we'll be right here on Thursday. I hope you're right there also on Thursday. And there you go. See you in the morning. Until then, for Wayne Goldsboro Television, I'm Wayne Alley.
I'm Kim Best, and this is what's happening in your community.